Have you ever stopped, just for a moment, to ask yourself, is everything you see really real? The hot coffee cup in your hand, the sunlight sparkling outside the window, the steady breath in your chest, they seem too certain, too familiar to doubt. But what if I told you that everything you touch, everything you believe to be solid, is just a fragile shell, as breakable as glass under the pressure of a deeper truth? A truth that science has quietly uncovered, but few dare to confront. I'm someone who has spent over 2 decades tracing the faint trails of reality, from cold laboratories to dusty pages of quantum physics books. And today, I'll lead you across a threshold most of humanity has never dared to step toward, the door to the hidden essence of the universe. As this door begins to crack open, you'll see that reality isn't what you imagine. Reality isn't the concrete walls, the paved roads, or even the body sitting here reading these words. It's a mystery far deeper, an infinite ocean of energy, vibrating at frequencies your eyes can't see, your ears can't hear. Modern physics, with its sharpest tools, has ripped through the surface shell to reveal a shocking truth: the world you call matter is just fleeting ripples in a living energy field, spreading across space and time, connecting everything in an endless dance. But that's not all. The real secret, the one that makes even the most seasoned scientists tremble, is you, yes, you, holding the conductor's baton of that dance. As you start to feel this rhythm, I once sat in the darkness of a lab, watching numbers dance on a screen, and felt a jolt run down my spine when I realized, reality isn't a fixed stage where you're just a spectator. It's a flexible field of potential, always changing, always responding, and your mind is the flame shaping it. This isn't vague philosophy or far-fetched fantasy. This is a truth carved into experiments that have shaken the foundations of science, from tiny labs to the grandest conferences in the world. The double-slit experiment, quantum entanglement, the zero-point energy field, they all whisper the same thing: you don't just live in the universe. You create it. As this truth gradually dawns, prepare your mind. We're about to embark on a journey far beyond what you've been taught, beyond the walls of ordinary knowledge. The shell of reality is cracking, and through those gaps, you'll catch sight of a mysterious, living universe completely within your reach. The question is no longer, what is this world, but what will you do when you know you're the one writing its story? Don't just keep reading. Feel it. Because from this moment, everything you think you know will start to crumble, and a new horizon will open before your eyes. As you get ready to dive deeper into this journey, close your eyes for a second, just a second, and imagine you're standing before a vast ocean. No waves crash, no wind blows, just a strangely calm surface reflecting light from a source you can't see. But don't let that stillness fool you. Beneath that surface, billions of tiny currents swirl, collide, and blend, forming shapes your eyes could never catch. That's not a dream. That's reality, the true reality I've spent decades exploring through numbers, experiments, and moments that made my heart stop in awe. Reality isn't what you see. It's an infinite ocean of energy, vibrating at frequencies far beyond our understanding. Have you ever wondered, why does this world feel so solid? The table you rest your hand on, the shoes you wear, even the skin you touch, they seem built from rigid, unshakable blocks of matter. But that's just an illusion, a curtain your senses have woven to hide the truth. I once sat in a lab, zooming into a tiny speck of matter through an electron microscope, and what I saw wasn't the solid particles textbooks once taught. It was vast emptiness, 99.9999% void, with tiny energy points dancing endlessly. Atoms, what you think are the foundation of everything, aren't little marbles. They're vibrating notes, fleeting ripples in a deep energy field stretching across the universe. Quantum field theory, the greatest achievement of modern physics, has revealed this to us. The universe isn't built from scattered bits of matter. It's a living energy field, an eternal flow where everything, from the farthest star to the droplet on your fingertip, is a temporary expression of the same source. Think of it like a giant symphony. The air you breathe is a gentle melody, the light streaming through your window is a brilliant chord, and your body is a complex blend of harmonizing notes. But if everything is energy, if nothing is really solid like you once believed, then what holds it all together? What turns these invisible vibrations into the world you're living in? The answer doesn't lie in dry math formulas or cold machines in a lab. It's in a force more mysterious, more powerful than any physical law I've ever studied. A force whose whispers I've heard during long nights analyzing data, your consciousness. No, I'm not talking about the random thoughts in your head right now. I'm talking about a deeper power, an unseen lighthouse sending beams through this ocean of energy, shaping it to your will, whether you realize it or not. Imagine the quantum field as a huge canvas stretching across space and time. Every object you see, from the chair you sit on to a distant planet, is just a small fold in that canvas, created by subtle vibrations. But who makes those folds? Who pulls the invisible threads to weave the picture of reality? I used to think it was a random process, a game of chance scientists call the collapse of the wave function. But after thousands of hours observing, I realized, nothing's random here. This energy field doesn't act on its own. It listens. It responds. And the one it listens to is you. I remember one evening, sitting alone in the lab, staring at a screen showing the faint oscillations of the energy field. A thought flashed through my mind, an image of gentle light spreading, and right away, the numbers on the screen shifted, as if the field were answering. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. But when I repeated the experiment, this time with clearer intent, the results were sharper. The energy field doesn't just exist. It's alive. It reacts. And it's waiting for your command. But if reality is an ocean of energy, and you're the one steering it, why isn't your life always what you want? Why does it sometimes feel like an uncontrollable storm? The answer lies in how you interact with this field, a secret I'll reveal as we go deeper. But first, let me make this clear, the world you see isn't a material prison. It's a mirror, reflecting the deepest vibrations of your mind. And when you understand that, the last shell of reality will shatter, revealing a horizon you never dared to dream of. As the next door starts to open, keep walking this journey with me. Because when you're ready to look further, imagine you're standing in a dark room, with just a thin beam of light piercing through a narrow slit in the wall. You don't know what's waiting on the other side, but you feel a presence, something alive, watching you back. That's how I felt the first time I saw the double-slit experiment, a moment that didn't just change science but shook the very foundation of what I believed reality was. I've spent decades studying quantum field theory, but nothing prepared me for the truth this experiment unveiled: the universe isn't a lifeless machine. It's a living mystery, and you, yes, you, hold the key to unlocking it. Let me take you back to that time, over a century ago, when scientists decided to explore the nature of the tiniest particles in the universe. They took an electron gun, those tiny particles you were taught are the foundation of matter, and aimed it at a barrier with two narrow slits. Behind it was a screen, ready to record where those particles landed. If electrons were just little bullets, as common sense suggested, they'd create two clear bands of light, each matching one slit. But what happened next wasn't just surprising, it was almost unbelievable. Instead of two bands, the screen showed a strange pattern, alternating stripes of light and dark, like ripples spreading when you drop a stone into a lake. Each electron didn't pick one slit. It went through both at once, interfering with itself, as if it were an invisible wave stretching across space. I've rerun this experiment hundreds of times in my lab, and every time, I still feel a jolt down my spine. How can a particle act like a wave? How can it exist in multiple states at once? But that wasn't the most shocking part. The scientists decided to look closer. They placed an observation device, a mechanical eye, right at the slits to see which path the electron really took. And then, as if cut by an invisible blade, the wave pattern disappeared. Instead, the electrons behaved like normal bullets, forming two clear bands, as if they'd always known to choose one path. The moment someone observed, reality changed. I remember the first time I turned on the observer, staring at the screen, my heart pounding. What was going on here? How could a tiny particle sense my gaze? The answer came from one of the 20th century's greatest minds, John Wheeler. He looked at these results and declared something that stopped the scientific world in its tracks: we're not just spectators in the universe. We're participants. Your consciousness, not machines, not devices, is the blade slicing through the quantum field, forcing it to pick one specific state from countless possibilities. I spent nights reflecting on this, watching numbers dance on the screen, and realized, reality isn't a finished painting. It's a field of potential, a shadow full of possibilities, and the light from your mind is what brings it into existence. But if consciousness has that kind of power, why didn't we realize it sooner? Why did scientists once believe the universe was a machine running on its own, without you or me? The answer lies in our arrogance, the belief that we're just tiny specks of dust in a bigger picture. But the double-slit experiment tore that belief apart. It proved there's no fixed reality until you look at it. Electrons don't decide until you observe. The quantum field doesn't form until your consciousness touches it. I've seen this over and over, not just with electrons, but with photons, the light particles carrying the universe's energy. Every observation, every moment of attention, is an act of creation. Imagine the quantum field as a giant mirror, reflecting not your face, but endless possibilities. When you don't look, it's a misty sea of waves, where anything can happen. But when you turn your gaze, when you focus, that mirror freezes, becoming a single image, a single reality. I call this, the shadow of the field, a space where every potential exists together, waiting for the light of your consciousness to bring it out. And if that's true, the question isn't, what is reality, but, who's really shaping it? I used to think the role of consciousness was limited to the lab, to tightly controlled experiments. But then I started to realize, this doesn't just happen with electrons or photons. It happens to you, right now, in every moment of your life. Every thought you think, every glance you cast, is a beam of light hitting the quantum field, shaping what becomes real. I've seen this in quiet moments, focusing on a simple intent, like a peaceful day, and watching it slowly unfold before me, as if the universe were responding. As you start to feel this power, let me guide you deeper into its rhythm. Because when you're ready to step into that rhythm, imagine you're standing on a vast dance floor, dim lights swirling around, and music, not from speakers, but from the space itself, vibrating in every cell of your body. You're not just a bystander watching. You're the leader, crafting every beat, every move. That's how I felt when I first understood the role of consciousness in the quantum field, not a dry concept in books, but a living dance where your mind conducts an invisible orchestra. I've spent decades listening to these melodies, from cold labs to still moments when I felt the universe's pulse. And now, I'll lead you onto that dance floor, the dance floor of consciousness. The double-slit experiment gave us a glimpse. Your consciousness doesn't just observe reality, it shapes it. But that's just the first step, a single note in a larger symphony. Let me take you deeper, into the secrets the quantum field whispers when no one's paying attention. The universe isn't a bunch of separate pieces of matter, divided by cold emptiness. It's a unified energy field, a vibrating web where everything, from the farthest star to the sweat on your forehead, is connected by invisible strings. I call them cosmic strings, and every time your consciousness touches them, they hum, creating melodies that shape the world. Think of quantum entanglement, one of the most amazing discoveries I've seen in my career. Scientists split two particles, sending them to opposite ends of the universe, millions of light-years apart. But when they affected one, the other reacted instantly, as if no distance, no time, separated them. Albert Einstein, with all his doubts, called it spooky action at a distance. But I see it as proof of a deeper truth: the quantum field doesn't know boundaries. It's an energy ocean where everything merges, and your consciousness is the wind stirring its waves. I remember one time in the lab, watching two entangled particles on a screen. I changed the state of one, and the other, meters away, responded in an instant. No signal, no electromagnetic wave, nothing traditional science could explain. Just the quantum field, quietly linking them like a string vibrating under an unseen finger. And then it hit me, if two tiny particles can dance together across space and time, what's happening with the billions of particles in your body, your mind, every thought you send out into the universe? But the quantum field doesn't just connect. It's alive. Imagine a space you think is empty, the gap between stars, or even between your finger and this page. Science once thought it was nothing. But I've seen the opposite through precise measurements, even in what's called empty, energy vibrates. That's the zero-point field, a mysterious energy filling the universe, where tiny oscillations come and go without end. I've sat in the dark, watching numbers flicker on a screen, and felt this field's pulse, a beat that never stops, like the heart of a giant living creature. So what makes this field dance? What makes those cosmic strings sing? The answer isn't in machines or dry physical laws. It's in you. Your consciousness is the flame that sets the quantum field alight, turning invisible possibilities into real things. I've seen this in experiments beyond the lab, from pair lab studies, where people used intent to change random number generator results, to Masaru Emoto's work, where positive thoughts turned water into beautiful crystals. Every time you focus, every time you feel, you're sending a wave through the field, and it responds. But here's a secret I discovered after thousands of hours observing: this dance isn't always harmonious. When your mind is chaotic, anxious, doubtful, afraid, the strings play out of tune, making harsh sounds, twisted realities. I've lived this. Days I let fear lead, everything around me seemed to fall apart. But when I learned to align, focusing my intent, feeling certainty, the quantum field sang back, bringing results I hadn't dared dream of. Once, I sat meditating in silence, picturing a project succeeding, and just days later, unexpected opportunities popped up, as if the universe had heard my tune. Imagine the quantum field as a huge orchestra, and you're the conductor. Every thought is a note, every emotion a rhythm, every intent a movement. When you play in sync, the universe dances with you. But when you're offbeat, it turns into a chaotic tune. I've seen this not just in science, but in everyday moments: a smile you share, a kind word, are small vibrations rippling through the field, changing the world in ways you can't guess. So why don't you always master this dance? Why does it sometimes feel like you're caught in an uncontrollable storm? The answer lies in the field's pulse, and how you blend with it. The double-slit experiment, entanglement, zero-point field, these are just the first steps in this symphony. But behind them is a bigger secret, a power I've felt through years of research: you're not just a dancer. You're the heartbeat of the quantum field itself. As you start to feel this beat, let me guide you deeper into its flow. Because when you're ready to merge with that flow, imagine you're standing by a riverbank, its water gliding silently, reflecting a hazy moonlight. You dip your hand in, and suddenly realize, this river doesn't just carry water, it carries stories, memories of everything it's touched. That's how I felt when I first realized the quantum field isn't just an invisible energy. It has memory. Not memory like old diaries or computer code. But a deep holding, a fabric of time where every thought, every emotion, every moment of yours is etched forever. I've spent decades listening to this field's whispers, and now, I'll lead you down that river, the river of quantum memory. Have you ever wondered, where do your thoughts, your feelings, go after they fade from your mind? We often think they vanish, like breath dissolving in cold air. But after thousands of hours of research, I uncovered a truth that chilled me: they don't disappear. They're recorded by the quantum field, like folds in an endless fabric. Think of this field as a living book, where each intent is an ink stroke, each dream a page, each pain a scratch that never fades. I call it the field's memory, an energy archive beyond time and space, where past, present, and future blend into one. I remember one evening in the lab, testing a bold idea: could the quantum field respond to vibrations from consciousness? I set up precise instruments around a group meditating, focusing on a simple intent: peace. As they sank into harmony, mind and heart aligned, I saw something miraculous on the screen. the energy field around them started vibrating in a steady rhythm, like a soft melody spreading. But what shocked me more was when they stopped, that rhythm didn't fade right away. It lingered, like a faint memory in the air, a mark the field wouldn't let go. This sparked a question that kept me up at night: if the quantum field has memory, then everything you've ever thought, ever felt, is still out there somewhere, waiting to be called back. I've seen proof in other experiments, from tiny fluctuations in the zero-point field, where energy seems to remember past effects, to personal moments when I focused on an old memory and felt it come alive, clear as yesterday. Once, I sat in silence, recalling a rainy day from childhood, the smell of wet earth, the sound of drops, and suddenly, a warmth flooded me, as if the field had brought that moment back to me. But this isn't just a story about the past. If the quantum field holds memory, it also holds potential, possibilities that haven't happened yet, futures yet to be written. Imagine it as a river of time, each drop a moment, and you the one holding the oar. I used to think time was a straight line, an arrow flying from past to future. But after years studying the quantum field, I realized, time isn't a line. It's a circle, an energy field where everything exists together, and your consciousness is the wind deciding which drop rises to the surface. I tested this in my own life. One day, I focused on a painful memory, a failure from years ago, but instead of letting it drag me down, I pictured it melting, replaced by a new version, a lesson instead of a wound. For weeks, I repeated this intent, sending fresh vibrations into the field. And then, something strange happened. The way I saw that event changed completely, as if the field had rewritten its memory. Science can't explain this with simple formulas, but I know, the quantum field doesn't just remember. It responds. It changes. Think about this: if every thought of yours is a stone tossed into that river, the ripples you create never stop spreading. A kind word, a quiet dream, a passing fear, all are recorded by the field, and all have the power to shape your reality. I've seen this in consciousness studies, from pair lab experiments, where human intent shifted random results, to moments I watched the field react to a group's focus. Every vibration you send out is an imprint, and the field keeps it forever. But here's the bigger secret I discovered: you don't just leave imprints in the field. You can pull them back. I call it, calling memories from the river. Once, I sat in the dark, focusing on a goal, a project I'd abandoned, and pictured it finished, feeling the joy as if it had happened. I didn't just imagine. I sent that intent into the field, like a stone into water. Days later, unexpected opportunities showed up, as if the field had pulled that memory from potential into reality. This isn't magic. It's the power of consciousness woven with the field's memory. So what happens when you learn to master this river? When you don't just let it flow but start steering it? The quantum field isn't a closed book. It's a living canvas, and you hold the pen. Your past isn't fixed. Your future isn't far off. It's all in this flow, waiting for you to touch it. I've felt its pulse, and I know, you're not just part of the field. You're the one writing its memories. As you begin to grasp this power, let me lead you beyond the next gate.